What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video at hand, and today I want to talk to you guys about some of my most expensive goals when it comes to my game collection. Now, a lot of you guys already know that this is a passion that I am very into when it comes to video game collecting. Now, of course, video game collecting can be very expensive, and with these goals that I'm about to share with you guys, I am not ranking them in any order, which one is the least expensive to the most expensive, or the most expensive to the least expensive. These are just some of the most expensive goals that I have for the game collection, and I don't know when I'll finish them, but I do plan on finishing them at some point or another when it comes to collecting video games and adding on to the game room. So without further ado, let's dive right into this video subject, take a look at some of the most expensive goals that I have for the game room right after the intro. Now, the first goal that I want to talk about when it comes to adding on to the game collection and the game room is that I want to add more arcade machines to my collection. So this might be the first time that I'm talking about this on the channel, but believe it or not, I do own an arcade machine. It is a real one and not some one-up arcade machine. And more specifically, it is a Neo Geo MVS, which comes with Bubble Bobble, Metal Slug, along with a few others that I can swap out anytime into the machine. Now, this is something that I'm very thankful to own. This is something that, believe it or not, I only picked up for about $100 from a yard sale several years ago. Now, obviously, I don't keep this in the game room. It's just because it is just way too big. But because it was so darn cheap for me to pick up, it was just something that I could not pass over. So that is something that I did add to the game room many years ago. But of course, I want to add more arcade machines to my collection. A few arcade cabinets that I am thinking about adding at some point or another is I want to add either a Street Fighter 2 cabinet or Third Strike in there. I want to add a Pac-Man machine, a Galaga machine, and a Cruisin' Exotica machine. Now, granted, I don't know how I'm going to put them in my collection. They're obviously not going to go in the game room due to the large size, but of course, that does not mean that I cannot add on to my collection. Granted, these machines are not cheap at all. They're about the cost of somebody's first car. So this might be something that I will have to wait on for quite a bit. Now, another expensive goal of mine that I want to have for my game room and game collection is someday finishing the US Sega Saturn set. Now, currently, I feel like I have a pretty solid start with the Saturn set. I have some games on there that I do enjoy and do like playing, but I do have to say, I do feel that the Sega Saturn overall is a pretty underrated console, and I enjoy it for what it is. Now, I haven't picked up any Saturn games for a little bit, just because, number one, it's a relatively expensive console to collect for, and I'm currently actively working on the Sega Dreamcast set. So once that is done, I'm going to be working on some other consoles after that. But I do feel that the Sega Saturn overall is a very underrated console. I think it has some pretty solid titles that are worth playing, such as Nights into Dreams, but sadly it is one of the most expensive consoles that I think overall. After all, we are talking about games on the system that can easily go up to high three figures and sometimes up past $1,000. I'm talking about games such as Panzer Dragoon Saga and Burning Rangers. But overall, lots of great games on the Saturn that I do like and do want to try out someday. But yes, that is one console that I hope I can get the complete set for one day, just because I do like the Sega Saturn that much. Now, before I go into some more expensive goals when it comes to adding on to the game room and the game collection, I just want to give you guys a quick recommendation and talk to you guys about Utsugushi. Now, Utsugushi is an anime-inspired streetwear clothing brand that is not only the sponsor of this video, but also an amazing clothing brand that has a lot of interesting designs that embrace both anime and Japanese culture with the multiple designs that they have on their t-shirts, hoodies, and hats. Now, what I really like about Utsugushi is not only the designs that they have for their clothes, but also the quality that they have as well. They use a special technique to put the designs on their products to ensure that you are getting a quality product that is going to last a while and will be able to put up with some wear and tear over time. The shirts are also very comfortable as well, and the clothing brand tries to be environmentally conscious with their hoodies that are made from both recycled and organic materials. And also, when you place an order through Utsugushi, it takes a little bit longer because it is sent through a print-on-demand process, meaning they do not keep multiple quantities of one shirt, but it is special ordered for you to prevent waste from going into the environment. And with every purchase that you make through Utsugushi, you earn rewards points that you can use to get special discounts. And when you have enough rewards points saved up, you can even use them to buy a full shirt, hoodie, or hat, or any other product of your choice. And of course, I have a special discount to share with you guys today. Please make sure to use the coupon code NATE15, so that way when you go to utsugushiclothing.com, you could save 15% off your entire first order when you use the coupon code NATE15. So please make sure to head on over to utsugushiclothing.com today. Pick up a nice, good discount along with some really cool clothing as well. Not only will you get some nice merch for yourself, but you also help support the channel as well. So please make sure to head on over to utsugushiclothing.com today and remember to use the coupon code NATE15 to save 15% off your entire first order. Now, let's head on back to the main subject at hand. Now, this is a subject that I had to bring up at some point or another, and that is one day hopefully going into collecting for the Neo Geo AES. Now, if you want to talk about consoles that are really expensive to collect for, the Neo Geo AES is really up there when it comes to some of the most expensive consoles that you can collect for. After all, I'm talking about games where a good chunk of the library is like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 complete in box per game. Not for a bunch of games, per game. For a console where a lot of games basically cost about as much as someone's first car, I have to say that is quite the barrier to entry when it comes to collecting for SNK's beloved AES console. After all, I really want to get into collecting for this console someday because I am a huge fan of Metal Slug. Of course, I do enjoy Fatal Fury and the King of Fighters, and I really want to see what SNK has to offer besides those juggernauts when it comes to their library of games. And I've always thought that the AES was a relatively cool console to not just collect for, but just to look at and play in general. Now, I've seen some people talk about over the years about how they're able to collect for the AES, and I will keep some of those strategies in mind when it comes to trying to keep the cost down with the AES. But I will say, if you do want to talk about some really expensive goals of mine when it comes to collecting games and adding on to the game room, yeah, this is something that I had to bring up at some point or another, because if you want to talk about expensive consoles to collect for, it's hard to not mention the AES from SNK's roster. Now, this is a goal that I have to complete at some point or another, and that is completing the Nintendo GameCube set. Now, the Nintendo GameCube is one of my personal favorite game consoles of all time. I've had so many great memories with the GameCube, with a lot of the single player games, to the late nights of staying up with friends, playing some Mario Party and Smash Brothers Melee, Mario Kart Double Dash. There were so many great games on the GameCube, whether you're talking about Melee or Kirby Air Ride, Metroid Prime, Zelda Wind Waker, so many great games on the GameCube. I feel like this is a console that I must complete at some point. After all, I would consider this easily in my top 5 of one of my personal favorite game consoles of all time. So many great games, I just have to finish it at some point. Of course, one of the big roadblocks to me finishing off the GameCube set is just the fact that this is another expensive console to collect for. After all, if you want to look at some really expensive games, talk about Pokemon Box. If you want to get that game complete in box with all the peripherals and everything that was included with it, you're talking about a game that costs $4,000. Not a cheap console to collect for. I will say that some of the games are a little cheaper if you are looking for, like sports games and like third-party titles. But I will say when you look at some of the more exclusive titles, even third-party exclusive titles, like some of the Resident Evil remakes and of course the Mario Parties and Chibi Robo and games like that, I would say then you're going to be going into some expensive territory when it comes to the GameCube. Obviously, there are some more expensive consoles out there, but I will say GameCube is worth talking about if you're going for a complete set, if you want to talk about some expensive endeavors when it comes to game collecting. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.